So this is not about recognition. This is not about a recognition, okay? This is about resistance. This is about resistance. So, and the release of resistance. There's nothing wrong with the apparent character. You've heard it said over and over again. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Giggles, giggles, giggles. Empty stares, blah, 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 blah. But there's really nothing wrong with it. Really, really, there's nothing wrong with it. Because what the mind does with this message is it conceptualizes this no concept. And it takes no doer. It says, oh, there's no doer, there's nothing to do, as I shouldn't do anything, and I should do anything. See, I should do nothing. It turns it into opposites again. And that is a curse of being a self. But I'm here to tell you that it's inescapable. So it's not something you run away from by knowing something in your mind, mentally. So if you try to act in accordance with this ultimate truth that nothing's really happening before the relative really, really believes that, you're living a relative lie, okay? You're living a relative personal untruth, all right? How can it be so? Well, how do you feel? How do you feel? This is the hopeless, hopeful message, and if it always feels hopeless, it's an objectively, I mean, it's saying there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go. So objectively, it's hopeless. But there's a reason we all talk about it, is because it feels almost hopeful. There's a feeling that feels, you mostly see like empty stares and giggles and like carefreeness. It doesn't necessarily feel, I don't know. Yeah, we're talking about feelings today. There's nothing wrong with the relative perspective. And there's such thing as resisting relative perspective to try to get ultimate perspective. And it is a lot like it makes you feel so when you really feel like a separate entity, you really feel separate from everything else, there's really nothing wrong with that. I'm here to tell you there's really, really nothing wrong with that at all. Instead of trying to recognize that that's not true, go so deep into that, because that is your relative truth. Why not go so deep into the divide? Okay? Because you're already resisting and putting a restraint and trying to restrict your own freedom by trying to force yourself to see something you really don't see and really don't understand. Really can't understand. I don't understand it, okay? For the sake of a recognition. This isn't about getting to recognition. This is about the release of resistance. So are you resisting the relative? Are you resisting the character? Are you resisting the story? Are you resisting the desire? Are you resisting the preferences? Are you resisting all of that? Why? And who is it that's doing that? Why are you doing that? There's nothing wrong if that's what you choose to do. I'm not telling you to do or not do that. I'm just asking you if you are. Simply inquiring if you are. And why? Why is it that you do that? Do you do it for the sake of a recognition? Do you do it for the sake of getting somewhere? Where do you think you're going to get? And what do you think you get from this? From acting in accordance with this? Whatever you're doing or not doing. Because choice and free will still appear in the relative level, okay? And if you really feel like those things exist, well, they do. Well, they do. They are a part of existence. So the illusion, and just because we say it's an illusion doesn't mean that you have to cut yourself off from action or creation or manifestation or whatever. It doesn't get anywhere, and that's fine. But you also don't have to stop doing it because it doesn't get you anywhere. Naturally, usually it happens. So like this, whatever happens just happens naturally. It happens on its own. It happens on its own. So there's really the relative, the subjective. This is a part of this, okay? Feeling like a fraction is a part of the oneness, okay? Feeling like a fraction isn't ultimate truth, but it is a part of the oneness. And if you try to start backwards and you try to start by realizing no thing when it's not in alignment with what you actually believe on a personal level, because really all you're seeing is a personal level, okay? If you try to do that first and you try to go backwards about it, you'll run into just more resistance. And this is the release of resistance, okay? This is not recognition. This is not recognition. It's the release of resistance. So if it looks like doing for you, go do whatever you want to do. Be radically honest immediately in every moment. Immediate radical honesty. Imitate this. Let it flow. Let it flow, let it go. And sometimes it looks like doing. Sometimes it looks like creating. Sometimes it looks like trying to get somewhere. Sometimes it looks like vegging out on the couch like a potato. Suggestion is that you go so deep into the divide instead of trying to realize that there's no separation when you really truly feel separate on a fraction level is impossible. But a start is giving yourself limitless freedom. A start is not resisting the fraction, not resisting that. Just let it go. Just let it be. You have preferences, you have an opinion, you have beliefs. Good. Good. Express them. Live them out. You feel like chase till the end of the earth, friend. You feel like being a doer. Do whatever you want. You want to create something. Create whatever you want. Who told you that the separation isn't beautiful and it isn't a part of this holy trinity of none, one, and all? Who told you that? Who's telling you that? Who is telling you that? See, it's like becoming a child. Let the resistance off of you. Stop acting like the parent in your head that's gonna smack the shit out of a child for doing what it wants. Go have the fucking ice cream for dinner. Yeah, kingdom of heaven. It's for the ones that become like children. Go do it. Who told you that the separation isn't a part of this holy trinity, this holy threesome happening? None. Dreaming one, dreaming all fractions of one. If you feel like a fraction, get so deep into your fraction, your fractal self, the separate self, the dream, the character, the story. Get so fucking deep into it. Stop resisting it. Let it come. If it looks like sadness, if it looks like anger, if it looks like I don't give a shit, if it looks like creation, if it looks like a whatever. Because truly, this story, this sense of separation is creating everything that you think is beautiful, including this message. If you think it's beautiful. Trees, your preferences, that's what creates light and dark. This contrast of feeling separate is already creating that, so don't resist it. And this comes naturally when you take that off and you give yourself this. We're saying this is freedom, and it's already freedom. No matter, yes, that's true on an ultimate level. The relative, if it doesn't believe that, will just try to realize that by doing nothing. The desire to do and the illusion of doing and the illusion of creating and the illusion of separation is still a part of this. It is still beautiful. It's still no less this already. Whether you get up and chase to the ends of the earth, or you want to make $1 million, or you want to do whatever, it's still a part of this. It doesn't get you. It doesn't trap freedom within you. It doesn't trap freedom or unconditional love within you. It doesn't do that. It will never do that. But who is the one putting resistance on you going to on doership or not doership? Illusion doesn't make something invalid. And it does. But illusion doesn't make something relatively invalid. Ultimate illusion doesn't make relative invalid. It's beautiful to want to do, to want to create. Is it for something? No. And that's the funny thing, is that what the mind does is the mind will say, well, there's no point. There's nobody really doing anything. It's just an illusion. It's whatever. It's not true. And it will say, well, there's no point in doing it then. Why should I? Well, why would I do that if I'm not really doing it? If it doesn't get me anywhere? Good question, mind. Have you noticed that when you're doing things not for an outcome and not to get somewhere, it seems to go so much smoother? You know, like when say you're doing a trick or something and you're doing it and you suddenly just let go of resistance and you got it. And then you bring someone over, you're like, look, I got it. I did it. And you try to do it and you fall on your face. Have you ever noticed that everything comes easier when it's aimless? Do you think that that's some sort of coincidence? No. This message doesn't work against the relative. It works with the relative. It's birthing the relative, okay? So all of it is interconnected. All of it is interconnected, and there's no need to recognize that even. There is no need to even recognize that. It's interconnected, so even the relative self, okay? What it thinks this message is saying is that this accepts everything, rejects nothing, so this just is. So the relative will try to imitate that. But that's funny because this, okay, what is being recognized is that it is allowing a relative you, okay? This is allowing a relative you with preferences and contrast, and a you that doesn't accept and reject everything. It has preferences and things it would like to do and not do. And that is just as much a part of this. It could never ever be separate from it. What happens with the recognition is that there's a lot less resistance, so there's a lot less preference. But there is resistance to preference even on a relative level, okay? So trying to get the recognition, just throw it out the fucking window. Just throw it out. I'm not saying that because whatever. I'm not saying that because it'll never whatever. I don't know. But I know that it's not about that. Throw it out. Just fucking put it in the trash, okay? put it in the trash. And if you need to focus on something, focus on releasing resistance. Maybe it's with questioning things in your head. Maybe it's with letting yourself do immediately what you want to do in the moment and not acting like that parent restricting a child. That's what it feels like in your head, right? Oh, I really feel like dancing. My foot's tapping to this music, but I don't want to dance because I don't want to look stupid, and it's not the setting to dance. I'm in the hospital and somebody's dying. I don't know. Okay? Maybe it looks like dancing. Okay? Maybe it looks like dancing when your favorite song comes on when you want to. Maybe it looks like telling every non-dual creator how annoying it is to hear the word apparent character 12 million times, all right? Maybe it looks like I don't know. Maybe it looks like I feel like shit. Maybe it looks like I feel like I'm better than everybody else or something. Express it. Let it come up without resisting it and saying it shouldn't be. If you want to start somewhere, try to question shouldn't be. Try to release shouldn't be. And when the thought comes up, because the thought will come, say you work out and you just don't want to work out. Again, subjectively, this is not the best advice. This is not advice to get you to a goal, all right? So, when the thought comes up of this will be the result and this will happen, or I feel like shit because of this, or this or that, or even whatever comes up, and you put the judgment of something on it and you're trying to judge it, counter it with a so what. Counter it with a so what. So fucking what? Correct, incorrect, good, bad, person reacted negatively, reacted positively, so fucking what? What does it mean? Question it. Immediate truth, immediate honesty, immediate radical honest expression in every moment, in every moment, in every moment, in every moment, in every moment. The defenses fall, the resistance falls, and funny enough, everything you think you're scared of losing, whether it's enlightenment, your path to enlightenment, or people, or a place in society, everything you think you'll lose, well, one sec, we're gonna let him pass. Everything that you think you lose as a result of being honest, well, you might. Radically honest, and maybe you'll lose a job, maybe you'll lose a relationship, maybe you'll lose what you think enlightenment looks like, the peace and the happiness and well, maybe you fucking do. What you find eventually with this radical honest expression in every moment, if you want something to do, radical honest expression, whatever comes up, maybe it looks like not doing, maybe it looks like doing, maybe it looks like telling somebody to fuck off, maybe it looks like randomly picking up your shit and moving to Costa Rica, I don't know. Maybe it looks like choosing an English muffin instead of a bagel. Maybe it looks like, I don't know what it looks like, okay? But if you need something to do, radical honesty with yourself. Honest expression in every moment. Just let it hit you, honest after honest after honest. And what you find, there will be fear, there will be times when it's fear, but become so committed to personal truth, okay? Because that's all you will know is personal truth, truly. You'll only know personal truth before you know ultimate truth of no separation, no nothing. So if you try to go against your personal truth to realize ultimate truth, there is resistance to the personal truth already of, I feel like a separate person. Okay, I feel like a separate person with preferences, with understandings, with what I think is true and false, with an experience, with whatever, with a story. You almost create more divide and more distance, and you feel like more of a separate soul, and you feel deeper into the divide. So what I'm suggesting is go so deep into the divide that you're not resisting the character, that you're not resisting the story, that you have fun getting into character. Get into character. You don't have to fucking be like a rock and, and look around. I don't know, that's just a byproduct, and recognition itself is just a byproduct of resistance released. You don't have to look like a rock, emotionless, storyless, doerless, creativeless rock, humorless, or like laughing at nothing. That happens sometimes, just a random laughter. It just happens, but you don't have to do any of that. If it doesn't feel right personally, throw it the fuck off and throw it in the garbage. I'm so serious. Just, if there hasn't been a recognition, don't go backwards. It doesn't work. Don't go backwards. Go deep into the divide. Go deep into the sense of you. And there's a chance people that are drawn to this stuff are usually into like philosophy and spirituality, and then people that are into spirituality are into seeking, and usually have my theory usually have like grew up restrained, like there's a born desire for truth, and sometimes the people come off empathetic, or they were looking for the right thing to do, or avoiding the wrong thing to do, and trying to seem like the best version of yourself. I'm here to tell you what this message really is that the best version of yourself is right fucking now. It doesn't get better than this. No, it does not get better than this. This is this, okay? But that includes you wanting to do things, you wanting to create things, you wanting to get somewhere sometimes too. So it's not about this recognition. Who gives a motherfuck about the recognition? It's about no resistance. That's what you want, right? People that want so when you want a recognition, when you're after the recognition, to really get to the point, okay, the point in time where you recognize and everything becomes, who gives a shit, dude? Who cares? But what you're really after is what you think that shift brings. You think it brings peace. You think it brings freedom. You think that it brings love. You think that it brings maybe power. And what do all those things point to? Makes you, what is it saying about you? It's saying, I think that I'm powerless. Yes, I'm talking about beliefs, even though I'm saying none of this is about beliefs. It's saying, I think on a relative level that I am powerless, or I am loveless, or I am trapped, or I am this, and I have to get to not that, and it's going to happen as a result of this recognition. Resist nothing. If there's advice, just resist nothing. Don't resist the stories just because they're just stories. Don't resist the character because it's just an apparent character. Resist nothing. Let yourself be like a child that's parentless. It doesn't mean that when you touch a hot stove, your fingers aren't going to get burned. But truly, this isn't something you're going to get just by somebody telling you. Sometimes you need to go touch the fucking stove. If you've been wanting to touch that stove, do the bad thing, speak your mind, or you've been feeling trapped or whatever, like, or you've been wanting to create or do doership or whatever, go touch the fucking stove. Go touch the stove, create the thing, do whatever. Doesn't even touching a stove, it assumes that it's bad. Some things will burn you, some things will feel great. There's no reason to demonize the apparent character. There's no reason to say, oh, it's just, to deny yourself what you think is real. Get really into what you think is real, because the recognition is just recognition. It's just a byproduct and a sudden realization that, oh, yeah. Yeah, it does feel like a whoa. It's like a cool experience. I'm not supposed to say that. I'm not supposed to say that. It's a cool experience. But it means nothing. It's utterly meaningless. Alright? So on a relative level, just imitate it. Resist nothing. That's what this is. It's embracing everything. So this is just the recognition that everything is just embraced by no one. So on a relative level, just embrace. Embrace the split. Embrace the concept. Embrace the beliefs. Embrace what you'll see is embrace the wanting to do. Embrace the you, the separate you. Embrace it. Because what's wrong with it? What's really wrong with it, Embrace the messy hair and the bad angle and whatever. And there'll be fear, there'll be resistance to it as a fear of, I think I'm going to get farther away from enlightenment or being a good or bad person or losing my relationships or whatever. Lose them. Risk it all for freedom. Risk it all for freedom. Do it. Try it. Try it out. Try it out. Taste the fruit. It doesn't fill you up. But thinking you're not eating it doesn't stop you from eating this shit, thinking that it makes you full. That's the paradox. Forbidden fruit doesn't fill you up. But what you don't realize is resisting the forbidden fruit is also eating it. Resisting the forbidden fruit is already eating it. So take a bite. Savor the self. Savor the stuff that you like, that you dislike, things you want to do. Go do it. What you find is what's interesting is the one, so I'm talking about this trinity between none, one, and all, that fraction, the piece of the all, this is where manifestation comes in. Manifestation comes in because, when you start living kind of in alignment, and I know this sounds like spiritual bullshit, and it is in a way. But when you start living in alignment with the stuff that you really do want, things that are authentic, that you really want in your life, there's no resistance to the asking for them, to the gratitude for them, to the whatever, because you're not doing what you think you should want and what you think you should do and what you think you should believe. You're you're in alignment, and the one almost caters to that, and in your physical reality, in your personal reality, things become brought about. You get friendships that are more authentic instead of the ones that make you feel like shit. You get experiences that are enriched. You know, the character doesn't, it dissolves and also becomes more enriched. I don't know, that there's an enrichment to the experience. Okay, it doesn't mean it's always easy and that there's not consequence and that it's, but free flow, dude. Flow. Really flow. Toggle with this thing. This is the anti-message. But this is still a part of the message. This is still gospel. As that even the separate sense of a you is not separate from one. Okay? And that there's nothing wrong with diving into the divide, diving into the experience. It won't bring you fullness. So nothing that you could do objectively won't bring you fullness. That's not a wrong message. It won't bring you what you're looking for, but it might. Contrary, it might, seemingly, because this is not about recognition. This is about resistance. What are you resisting? Are you resisting the sense of a you, if that's what you really feel like? Are you resisting this message of it's all the same thing, if that's what you really feel like? Doesn't matter if you choose to not choose or choose, you do no doing. No wrong or right. There's no wrong or right, friends, and that's the thing. There's a trying to get some ultimately there's no relating to anything. That this is all just what it is. It's already ultimately absolutely beautiful what it is. But relatively, that's the hopeless message for the separate self. And some of you guys don't need the hopeless message. Some of you need to throw that shit in the trash for the time being. You could pull it out and do whatever you want with it later. But some of you don't need to hear that there's no relating, there's nobody that could really love, there's nothing really happening. Some of you don't need that right now. And yes, I'm saying need and not need. Contradictions everywhere, but some of you guys need to hear the hopeful message. The hopeful side of the hopeless, hopeful message. You aren't separate from this. Nothing's separate from this. It's really not separate from this. Even you thinking you're separate. Just go do all the things you want to do. You know, just because somebody's saying no doership doesn't, and that it's an illusion, and maybe you believe it as an ultimate truth, think it makes sense, but don't really feel it. Believe the personal truth. It's contrary advice, but believe the personal truth. That you don't believe it, that fuck this, that I love this, that whatever. Follow it. Do the chasing, do the doing. And that's not me, that's not a taunting of like, go do it. Use free will. If you really feel free will, like you really feel like this is you are doing this, if you do this, feel it. Use it. Use that free will. Like if there's something that comes up and it feels like a choice, go choose what you want. Follow it. Flow with it. Don't resist the feeling of being a chooser, the feeling of having free will and really being a separate identity. Embrace it. Because that's what this is. It's embracing everything. So imitate it on your relative level. Embrace it all. Embrace it all. There's nothing wrong with savoring a self. There's nothing wrong with savoring the sense of self. It just doesn't fill you up. We're just saying it doesn't fill you up.